Nik Halik is the founder and chief executive of Financial Freedom Institute, Money Masters, the Trillionaires, and I Coach Global. He speaks on wealth strategies around the world. He's become a multimillionaire and amassed a lot of wealth through savvy investments in business, in property, and the stock market in his late 20s. His group of companies have financially educated and life coached over 300,000 individuals globally. But Nik is the very first flight qualified, certified civilian astronaut from Australia, and is also set to become Australia's first ever private space explorer to rocket into outer space and live on man's only international space station. He's actually done all the trading. He is on standby apparently for the next 18 months to hitch a ride up there. So please have a look at this and meet the man himself.
For the first decade of his life, Nik Halik was medically confined to his bedroom. So, at age 8, he drafted the screenplay of his life, including his top 10 list of goals. At age 14, he opened up his very first business. At age 17, he relocated to Hollywood, California to perform live on stage. At age 19, he bought his very first investment property. 5 years later, he became a multimillionaire. Now he owns private homes in the most beautiful places on Earth. Nik traverses the planet and pursues exciting, high adrenaline and epic adventures. He has summited the highest mountains in the world and visited over 100 countries. He's dived down 5 miles and had lunch on the bow of the shipwreck Titanic. He empowers thousands of individuals, passionately sharing his life story and insights on how to live a true life. In 2009, he wrote an additional goal to create and inspire 1 million new trillionaires across the globe and to self-fund the building of educational schools in poor remote villages across South America and Africa. Nik became a flight-qualified and certified civilian astronaut. Now, he's set to rocket to outer space, live on a space station, and with future plans to walk the lunar surface of the moon, completing the remainder of his original top 10 list of goals.
Let's give a warm welcome to global wealth strategist, successful entrepreneur, international speaker, astronaut, high adrenaline adventure, and best-selling author, Nik Halik.
So first, how are we? Thank you. How we doing?
Say your prayers, little one. Don't forget my son to include everyone.
Brisbane, how are you? Say cash. Say cash. Wonderful, excellent. Hey, can I step down? How's that? Is that better now? Can everybody see me? Wonderful. Hey, did you get the memo? I'm going to be speaking until midnight tonight. Is that okay with everybody? Awesome. Okay, wonderful. Look, I wrote a book called The Trillionaire, which is basically my autobiography, interspersed with financial education, also personal development too. And very soon I'm also going to be offering 70 free copies at the back of the room, but I'll let you know when that is going to happen. So for those who don't know my story, I was medically confined to my bedroom for the first 10 years of my life, chronic allergies, debilitating asthma, and at age 8, I actually drafted the screenplay of my life. So in effect, since age 8, I've been the actor, the director, and the producer of my own screenplay. And of my top 10 hit list, have a look at this. By the way, this is my actual top 10 hit list that I wrote down as an 8-year-old, and that is me as a youngster. By the way, do I look like the 5th unofficial member of the Beatles? Yes or yes? Check the hairstyle. Thank you, Mum. Number 10, I wrote down to become a rock and roll star. I managed to accomplish that at age 17. I started my first business and moved to Hollywood, California. And we eventually got signed up and we toured around the world. Anybody heard of Bon Jovi? Yeah. Went on the road with Bon Jovi. Anybody heard of Deep Purple? Yeah, went on the road with Deep Purple too. So we managed to do about 4,000 gigs, 4,000 performances in about 15 years. So it was an amazing time. Number 9, to become a millionaire. Now, my original inspiration to become a millionaire was this. I wanted to liberate my parents. My parents were immigrants who came to this country, the shiny continent in the South Pacific back in the late 1950s. So for me, it was really important to liberate them. Number 8, to run with the Bulls in Spain. I managed to knock that off my list. By the way, has anybody ever ran the running of the Bulls in Pamplona? Anybody? Let me tell you, there is nothing like being chased by 20 tons of sirloin meat. There is nothing quite like it. Number 7, I wrote down to become a mountain climber and climb the highest mountains in the world. I've done most of the highest peaks. In fact, a year and a half ago, I also did Everest, and I did a halo jump. That is, at 35,000 feet, jumped out of a perfectly sound plane, and a terminal velocity of about 160 miles an hour on the way back down to base camp too. So an amazing feat. Number 6, to go down to the bottom of the ocean. Anybody heard of James Cameron? I was actually on James Cameron's expedition in 2005, and we got to spend about 10 hours down the bottom of the wrecked Titanic, and we actually had lunch on the bow, which was pretty amazing too. So imagine this, right? 4 hours to sink down to the very bottom of the North Atlantic Ocean, and no chains, no tether, you just sink down to the very, very bottom, and there is no one to save you. Pretty cool, yes or yes? Yes. Awesome, definitely. Number 5, to travel and explore more than 100 countries. As of about 3 months ago, I just visited my 130th country. So according to the United Nations, there's 66 more countries to go to, with a total of 196 countries. Number 4, to a beautiful place around the world. Number 3, to become an astronaut. Now, I've always had this boyhood dream of becoming an astronaut, and I'm very, very, very close to fulfilling my International Space Station flight, which I'll share with you in a moment too. And 8 down, 2 to go, and these goals have consumed over 32 years of my life and what have you too. So I've appeared on numerous television appearances around Australia and around the world. There's been a lot of press, a lot of media, a lot of newspaper excerpts and what have you. My branding, as the media has dubbed me, I am called the Thrillionaire in regards to the way I lead my life, but also how I invest. See, I am a cyber gypsy. Who knows what a cyber gypsy is? A cyber gypsy is anybody who can operate and generate massive passive cash flow on one of these. By the way, is that of any interest? Yes or yes? Yes. Okay, wonderful, awesome. By the way, that's a photo of me at age 18 when I first landed in Hollywood, California. And ladies, that is my hair. That is not a perm, okay? Wonderful. And a lot of this, and for those who don't know, my actual space mission with the Russian government is this. It's a $30 million space flight. I'm self-funded, I'm a civilian astronaut, I'm not a government-funded astronaut. And in October of 2008, after spending numerous years in Russia training to become flight certified, I officially became Australia's first civilian astronaut to actually represent the Australian flag in space. Pretty awesome. It's that boyhood dream, what have you too. And this is me training in our Soyuz capsule, and I have some footage. Check this out. That's a Soyuz rocket, about 2.5 million pounds of thrust. It takes about 8 minutes to get to orbit. That's some footage from one of my earliest flights into space in 2003. That's me doing Superman, the locomotive. And also did my book launch in zero gravity too. Pretty awesome stuff, definitely. And the International Space Station, it orbits the Earth about 300 miles above the Earth. It orbits the Earth every 90 minutes, and you can go from Melbourne to Perth in about 4 minutes. You're traveling at about 25,000 kilometers an hour, and every day you get to view 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every day. And from a young child that was basically medically plagued and confined to his bedroom, now being in a position where you get to block out the Earth with your thumb. Quite a vast difference, would you agree? Yes or yes, absolutely, definitely. And on my birthday over here, there's a library of about 9 books on International Space Station, of which my book, The Thrillionaire, is actually one of them right now. And one of the astronauts actually did a book testimony, the first book testimony ever done in space. Check this out.
Hey, Nick. Richard coming to you from on board the International Space Station. By the way, your book made it. I'll stamp this and bring it back to you back on Earth. By the way, it was great to spend this year training with you. You really do live the life of the Thrillionaire. You're a great inspiration to me and to many others around the world. Thanks, Nick.
Is that cool or what? Awesome. Now, folks, I have this. Now, for the first 70 individuals, the first 80 to the back of the room gets a free copy of my book. The first 80, go for it. Okay, folks, let's get started over here. So, in relation to the original goals, today I want to focus this particular session in regards to number 9, how to become a millionaire. Now, I have a very contrarian view how to invest, and allow me, with your permission, I'm going to show you what I personally believe is by far the most profound way of investing, which is very, very different to how most individuals would actually view investing in the first place. So one thing I encourage you is this. Take as many notes as possible. It's going to be a very intimate session, and if you have any questions whatsoever, I will make myself available for at least 45 minutes to an hour at the back of the room. Everyone okay with that, folks? Wonderful. So let's continue with this now. Okay, so why should you be listening to me today? First of all, some licensing, some accreditation information for your perusal over here. Please note, I've been an investor, a wealth strategist, a life strategist for over 23 years in regards to different economic cycles, in regards to boom and bust and absolute indecision, whatever in the marketplace. Also, I'm very transparent, I'm very down to earth, I'm very humble, very honest. I encourage you, Google my name so you know exactly who you are dealing with. This is my integrity, it is sacred to me, folks. So please Google my name. On top of that, if you were to type up Nik Halik predicted the global financial crisis of 2003, there's a number of searches that do come up. In fact, I was at a live event in Cairns, Australia with over 200 participants in a room, and on live, and I was recorded. I actually predicted the global financial crisis of 2008 in regards to the Americas back in 2003, March, 5.5 years prior to the actual data, whatever too. So you're more than welcome to read that, okay? Also, has anybody heard of Steve Forbes? Yep, Steve Forbes. Okay, well, Steve Forbes last year invited 25 leading investors, 25 leading wealth strategists from around the world. From Australia, there were 2 individuals that were chosen. There was myself and another individual out in the West who's actually a billionaire. Now, we were all basically, we were in a boardroom for 2 days, and we were locked up in a boardroom, and we basically drafted a 10-point plan. And the Greek finance minister and other European finance ministers came to the boardroom, and we actually provided them what we believed was the best monetary rescue plan for Europe. Now, does that say something about validation in regards to the strategies I'm about to educate you with? And the reason why I'm sharing that with you is this. The next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, we are about to experience an incredible time in regards to the world economies. Why? Because we now have the perfect storm. And I'm going to share with you exactly what is going to happen in America, Asia, and Europe. And look, I have businesses in North America, in Australia, and Europe. And there's a lot of things that are going down right now that a lot of us are not privy to. And in a moment's time, I'm going to share with you exactly what I personally believe is going to happen, okay? On top of this, I do a lot of public events around the world. I speak on one of the biggest stages on the planet. And, just recently I was in Singapore with over 7,000 participants. And usually by the time I finish, there's always pandemonium, individuals that want to talk to me in regards to how they can invest for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years of their life too. So once again, please come and see me at the very, very end over here. Now, proof. I am in the top 1% of income earners on the planet. I am an investing cyber gypsy. That is, I don't work in the business. I work on a myriad of different businesses around the planet. And what I do is this. I can operate my entire organization in investments from either an iPad, a Mac, or one of these two. That is, I'm a remote investor. And I'll give you a classic example over here. In 2005, when I went down to the bottom of the Titanic, I was in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean and I had internet connection. For those that are mountain climbers, at 25,000 feet on the South Pole, just before you make your summit attempt to Mount Everest, there is an internet connection or what have you. So you can be anywhere worldwide, okay? Now, One thing I want to teach you is this. This is the wealth matrix. Okay. Please write down as many notes as possible. The wealth matrix works like this. Let's work this microphone out. Number one is income. Your income is whatever you generate right now, be it your job, your vocation, or your own business and whatever, okay? Now, your income is what you want to use to invest in your what? Your growth type investments. Now, with growth type investments, I have a specific criteria that I want to share with you, okay? Now, your growth type investments is this. Anything that you invest in, you must know the return on investment upfront day one. Please write that down. You must know the return on investment upfront day one. Number two, you must know your risk profile upfront day one. In other words, you must know the worst case scenario upfront day one without any hidden surprises. Number three, you must be in control of your investment. Number four, it must be recession proof. And number five, you must be able to operate and generate an income irrespective of where you are on the planet. And I'm going to keep on reinforcing these particular criteria for the next presentation, okay? So, the money that you generate in your income matrix over here, in your income matrix, that money is emotionally connected money. Why? Because that is your hard-earned sweat and tears, because you have physically traded time for money, what have you. So, the rule is this. The money that you invest in your growth matrix over here, it must be conservative type investments, okay? Next, the money generated in your growth type investments over here, that's the money that you use to invest in your what? In your momentum. Momentum is more aggressive strategies where the yield is a lot higher, but also carries a little bit more what? Risk and what have you. But the difference is the money generated in your growth matrix, that you invest in your momentum matrix, that is now emotionally disconnected money because it's money generated from a different source. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? So it's really important. So emotionally connected money, you must be conservative. You must know the return on investment up front, your risk profile, you must be in control, and it's got to be recession proof. If you don't know any of those points, then chances are you are speculating and gambling, okay? Next, the money generated in your momentum matrix is what you use to fund your lifestyle. Your lifestyle is everything that you choose, which basically is your mojo, it's your life force energy, it's what puts a smile on your face. So long as you work accordingly to the wealth matrix in regards to income, growth, momentum, and lifestyle, okay? And we're going to really, really reinforce these points as we go along now. So the next 7 to 9 years, this is the criteria that you need to be operating on. It's really important over here. Okay, number one, let's repeat it again. You must know the return on investment. The return on investment up front. If you don't know the return on investment up front, then chances are you're what? You're gambling and you're speculating, okay? Number two, you must know your risk profile on your investment up front day one. You must know what is the worst case scenario up front day one. Number three, it must be recession proof. All my strategies in my growth matrix fit the following criteria. It must be recession proof, the ability to generate cash flow, irrespective of economic boom or economic what? Collapse. And number four, you must be in control of your investment. You must have enough defensive mechanisms to do what? To mitigate risk and what have you. And number five, you must be able to generate cash flow from anywhere. There is far too many individuals in Australia in regards to what I consider to be financial cancer applicants. I'll tell you something right now. How many individuals are basically tied up to a cubicle and what have you, okay? And really, there's no liberation because effectively they're working for somebody else. How many individuals work hard enough at work so they don't get sacked and the employer's going to pay them just enough so they don't quit? And a lot of individuals are maximising somebody else's return whilst that same individual is minimising their own. So the most important thing is this, you do it for yourself, you monetise your passion, but you must have this criteria in place if you are to survive the next 7 to 9 years of your life. This is financial cancer, folks. Here's the problem. A lot of us have gone to school. We've been spat out from academia, and effectively, the schooling system was just a factory assembly plant for the sole purpose of producing taxpayers, okay? So we've been spat out into the workforce, and then with after tax dollars, we attempt to do what? To service our lifestyle. And along the way, mind you, no financial literacy. We go out there, we gamble, we speculate and what have you. No financial literacy. And then we simply do what? We hope and wish for an outcome. See, there's a few words that I despise. I despise ambiguity, I despise the word hope, and I despise the word wish. In fact, the poorest people in the world subscribe to the words hope and wish. You see, I want certainty. Just a show of hands. Who wants certainty in their lives in regards to what they do? On a serious note, folks, you want 100% certainty, okay? That's a really important point. Too many individuals, they speculate and they gamble themselves to financial disaster, okay? Now, with financial cancer, the system works against you. Why? Because, has anybody heard of capitalism and why capitalism was designed? Let me tell you why it was. It was designed to do this, to make sure that you get entrenched in debt, that you take on way too much debt, okay? And what happens is this, when you take on too much debt, you now become what? Sedated. So you lose your faculty of thinking and you become a warehouse of facts. So now you live in fear in regards to the primal instincts of human emotion. So when you live in fear, the fear of losing your job, the fear of losing your house, the fear of losing your car, you become a lot more sedated and what have you. So a lot of individuals, they have financial cancer and they don't realize it. They've got one single source of income and 100% reliance on that one single source of income. Let's continue here. Financial cancer is effectively this. When you take your income with after-tax dollars and you do what? Straight to your liabilities, your lifestyle, without effectively investing in your growth or your momentum matrix. Remember, the growth matrix, it must be recession-proof. You must know the return investment up front, and also you must know the risk profile up front day one. In my growth matrix, I have about 7 different strategies, and in my momentum, I have about 9 different strategies. And the strategy I'll be sharing with you today is in the top 3 strategies that Jamie McIntyre of 21st Century recommends. And this is an amazing education. The results, wait until you see the results in today's economic chaos and what we're able to create and generate from the markets. So throughout the old rule book of investing and money making, you need to recession-proof your income. In other words, create your own personal economy, insulate yourself. There are far too many individuals that are reliant on the government to provide for them. And I'm going to tell you something now which may sound a little controversial. Your government will always let you down. Your employer will always let you down. And the reality is this, and I'm going to say it, and look, with all due respect and with your permission, can I say this? The reality is this, nobody really likes you. Nobody really likes you. Your parents are biologically programmed to like you. Your siblings are biologically obligated to like you. Fund managers, you pay them the privilege for them to lose your money. Financial advisors will say your products they get the highest commission on. Stockbrokers do what? They just sell brokerage. All wearing a suit and tie to go to work. Why? Because it's a job of necessity. See, I would rather you have a career of choice as opposed to a job of necessity. Who follows? Because a career of choice means what? You're liberated and you're in control. And you can travel and do the things that you love and still generate a healthy income. Okay? That's a really important distinction. Now have a look at this. This is the traditional way of investing in the stock market. By the way, this is incredibly 1980s irrelevant. Irrelevant. Say irrelevant. Very 1980s. In fact, have a look at this. Most individuals do this. They buy and they pray and they hope the share price will do what? It'll go up, okay? It's a very 1980s, very obsolete strategy, and I'll share with you exactly why. Well, first of all, the obvious reason is this. You have 1/3 of an opportunity to make money. You see, if you're hoping for an outcome, if you're wishing for an outcome, are you speculating? Yes or yes? Think of this. If you don't know the return on investment up front, you're gambling. If you don't know the return on investment, you are a trader. Because traders do what? The word trading, what does it mean? You're speculating with a what? With the hope of making what? Cash. See, I despise ambiguity. And for the next 7-9 years, you need to know something in regards to how to invest. Have a look at this. Anybody heard of a stock called BHP? It's also a great acronym for buy, hold and pray. How many individuals went out there off the back of jumping on the bandwagon, buy BHP at $50, then $50. I mean, this stock is $32 for like 6 years. It's done nothing. And some of you actually laughed. How do you know your fund manager hasn't invested in BHP on your behalf? Look, has anybody heard of a country called Greece? Yep. Greece is famous for three things. Who knows what it is? Okay. Nepotism, corruption, and the national sport is what? It's tax evasion. That's Greece. But have a look at this. And government manipulation and good beaches, yes. Look, folks, the reality is this. Greece's debt was $350 billion, okay? $350 billion. Now, and you're probably thinking, a small country in Greece, how can that affect the Australian market? Well, let me tell you. It affected everything around the world. Why? Because the entire world's financial systems is cross-collateralized. There is no more insulated governments or financial systems. Is that making sense? We are all exposed. Now have a look at this. $350 billion of Greek debt sent shockwaves around the financial markets. In fact, in Australia in the last 12 months, close to $90 billion of superannuation wealth was wiped out. Now have a look at this. If you think that was economic chaos, and by the way, Greece just asked for another 2 years extension just to service the interest on the loans. One thing you don't realise is this. There's another country called what? Spain. If that's Greece's debt, that's Spain. That's Portugal. And this is a country called Italy with $2 trillion in debt. If 350 billion wiped out almost 90 billion in Australia and $1 trillion around the world, what do you think this is going to do? Add Ireland to that. I do business in the UK. The UK is in a recession for the next 10 years. Europe is in meltdown for the next 10 years. It's deflation. And I'm a contrarian. I personally believe if there's ever going to be a country that's going to exit from the euro, guess which country that's going to be? It's going to be Germany. Because Germany is underpinning Europe. Who follows what I just said? China is contracting now. What's going to happen to China is what Japan experienced. Japan had 15 years of uninterrupted growth. And then bang, deflation. China is about to experience the same thing too. It's contracting. The Chinese stock market is down 45%. And just to prove a point, BHP has now had a profit downgrade. And 30,000 miners, or those in the mining industry, are about to lose their job. And Australia's become lazy and complacent on the what? The resource sector to bail us out. Well, guess what? It's caught up to Australia. And how do I know that? Because your real estate values in the last 18 months, have they gone down? Yes or yes? Fact. And on top of this, we've got the Americas. I live in Los Angeles too. Now I know this firsthand. The Americans are using a defibrillator to resuscitate their economy. It ain't working. They're pumping trillions of dollars into the economy to lubricate it. And you know what? The dollar's doing what? In value, in value, in value. It's eroding and it's eroding and eroding. The thing is this, cash is no longer the currency of the world. It is what? It's gold and silver. And this particular strategy is recession-proof. Irrespective of the economic climate, we can still generate an income. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you, unless you change the way you invest, then the next 7-9 years, you will suffer the wrath of that. It's been happening, it's in progress. So who has the money? Where did it go? Who is currently generating it? And why don't we have more money, what have you? So I want to introduce you to an education called Sharelord, which is by far one of the most powerful, most popular stock market educations on the actual planet, what have you. We have clients in over 31 countries, and this strategy absolutely rocks. And my emotional and my financial guarantee is this: I will take it to an entirely new level of investing, and this will blow your mind, folks. Listen to this very, very, very carefully over here. Now, my collective group of companies have mentored over 300,000 people since 1998. Now, obviously with financial advice and what have you, do your due diligence, okay? In light of your what? Your financial circumstance. It's a really important point. So the stock market exists for one sole reason: to transfer wealth from the uneducated to the what? To the educated. That's all it is. It's just a transfer of wealth. And let me show you exactly what happens in the economy. You see, when you have boom time, where property's going up, the stock market's going up, and the businesses are making money, effectively, credit is cheap. So everyone's borrowing and borrowing. There's an entire lubrication effect around the world with the financial markets. And what happens is this: the lubrication of wealth, the tap is now turned off. And now when you're heavily indebted, capitalism has completely overwhelmed you. You've been entrenched in far too much debt. They turn the taps off, and what happens? Hypocrite, nobody has money. And now you're bleeding in what? In debt. And when you're drowning in debt, what if it happens? The banks do what? They stick a garden hose in your mouth. Who follows? That's exactly what happens. Boom time. Everyone's borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and buying more and paying higher and higher prices. And eventually, the whole thing's going to come for what? A landing. And that happens every decade. Look, between 2006 to 2009, the figures were marinated. It was an artificial economy. And that's what we're going to pay the price for the next 5, 6, 7 years. And if you still have one single source of income in a deflationary economy, then you do so at your own peril. Because we now have the perfect storm, folks. We have the perfect storm, unprecedented. Unprecedented. Our rise was in proportion to China's rise. China is now contracting. We still haven't seen the worst of this. Let's continue over here. You need to generate more what? Cash flow. Cash flow. Remember the criteria? You must know from now on, whatever you do, you must know the return on investment up front day one. You must know your risk profile. You must know your what? Be in control, and it's going to be recession proof, okay? Now, I'm going to use specific terminology in regards to explaining this strategy. And because I originally came from property and I absolutely love property, what have you, there's a lot of terminology points that I use which is very, very similar to property. So for example, just like a landlord buys a property to rent out to a tenant, we can do the same thing as a shareholder by actually renting out our shares, by selling the option contracts to our shares. So at all times, I'll be using a lot of property terminology just to really chunk the information down, remove the hieroglyphics, and remove all the testosterone so you can embrace this and endorse it for the rest of your life, okay? So the wealth matrix, let's start to do this. We need to start stacking up our strategies, different ingredients, different strategies in our wealth matrix. The number one strategy you want to incorporate in your growth matrix is what? It's shareholder. Why? Because it's pure cash flow. It's cash flow and it meets our criteria. Okay, in my growth matrix, I have about 7 different strategies, okay? The money generated in my growth matrix is what I use to do what? To fuel and fund my momentum strategies. Money generated momentum is what basically services my lifestyle. And believe me, my lifestyle is quite an expensive one by my choosing, okay? So make sure that your matrix, it's loaded with the appropriate strategy in light of your own financial circumstances. Do not speculate, do not gamble with your hard-earned money. That's called gambling, okay? So 10 powerful reasons why you will be investing in Shell today. Fact. Have a look at this. Reason number 1, we do not trade the stock market. Statistically proven, historically proven, that the majority of individuals who trade the stock market will lose their money. Why? Because they're speculating with what? A specific outcome. They're hoping for a what? A desirable outcome. And most individuals tend to lose up to 100% of the money. What I'm saying is this. There are individuals that speculate and gamble in the stock market. In fact, if you examine all the market participants, about 95% gamble and speculate in the stock market. What we do as a shareholder, we create the market. Similar to a casino servicing gamblers, we do the exact same thing. So we service the gamblers. By the way, who's liking this already right now? So we service the gamblers. Let the gamblers trade. Let the gamblers spend hours and hours and hours in front of a computer screen in the most ridiculous hours of the day. We want a lifestyle. By the way, who am I talking to? Who wants a lifestyle? Show of hands. A lifestyle, cyber gypsy, traveling and doing whatever you love to do. Okay, so we get to service these gamblers who want to speculate and gamble. Stock market traders, they gamble and lose. Why? Because they're hoping and they're wishing for an outcome. Never hope. If you're wishing or hoping, you're speculating. You never want to speculate the next 7 to 9 years. Remember this. So the number one secret to riches is this. And I'm going to share with you a metaphor. Think back 200 years ago, and this is going to really prove a point. Think 200 years ago in the goldfields, okay? We had 2 classes of individuals. One individual was this, up to the knees in mud, prospecting in the riverbed, prospecting for what? Gold. Would you say the vast majority of them made absolutely no money? True? Who was the smart one in the goldfields? I'll tell you who it was. It was the individual that sold the pans, sold the picks, and sold the shovels to whom? The prospectors. True or true? So guess what? as a share lord, we do the exact same thing, because these proctors, these prospectors from the riverbed, they're no different to today's stock market traders, because they're gambling with the hope. Just like the individual selling the pads and the picks and the shovels, that's what we are going to do and service them. Why? Because every time we get paid, irrespective of what, market going up, down or sideways, we get paid. That's a really important distinction over here. So, powerful reason number 2. We create the marketplace for speculators. Why? Because 95% speculate and gamble, 5% do what? 5% create the marketplace. Now think of this. Let's go back to some history lessons over here. Casinos. Do you think casinos make money? Do casinos make money? Okay. Do casinos stack the odds in their favour? Yes. Okay, how do they stack the odds in their favour? Okay, think of this. The number one thing they do is this, and for those who don't know, has anybody ever been to Las Vegas? Has anybody been to Las Wages? Yes? Okay, cool. Well, what they do is this, they pump oxygen onto the gaming floor. Who follows? Why? To keep you awake so you can lose more money. Yes or yes? Next, they make you lose the emotional connection to money. Why? Because they turn your hard-earned dollars into what? Casino play chips. So now, your spending is a lot more indiscriminate because now you have no emotional connection to the money. Who follows? Number 3, they provide what? Free alcohol. And number 4, the carpet is all multicolored, all zigzag orientated. Why? To overload your sensory acuity. Who follows? To disorientate you. Would you say that's quite a business? Yes or yes? Now think of this. Your strategy. Stack the odds in your favour. Now have a look at this. Casinos service what? Gamblers. Well, as a share lord, we do the exact same thing. Now have a look at this. We become the casino. So with the share lord strategy, we have now reverse engineered the stock market, so we service all the traders, all the gamblers and what have you. And the unique and powerful ability of the share lord cash flow strategy is that it enables you to make money, no matter which way the market goes. You see, we're not chasing direction. Leave that to the gamblers, because the vast majority of them will lose money and get it wrong. All we want to do is this, irrespective of the outcome over here, we want to generate what? An income. Who will like an income irrespective, folks? Yes or yes? Okay, wonderful over here. Now have a look at this. Because I love to look at how to stack the odds in our favour, and this is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek in regards to all the traders in the world. Just like the casino pumps oxygen onto the gaming floor to keep the gamblers awake, I actually released the first stock market energy drink in the world. Just so I can keep all the traders awake at night time. Who likes that? And folks, there's a lot of cans over here. Who will like a stock market energy drink? Come and get it, folks. We've got about 50 of these right now. Know the return investment up front day one. You must know your risk profile. Remember, you don't want to trade, you don't want to speculate, you don't want to gamble. Okay, let's continue over here. So who are our speculators? Who are our speculators and gamblers? Has anybody heard of what? Option traders. Option traders do what? Option traders need the following. Option traders need option contracts to do what? Option traders need option contracts in order to do what? To on-sell them with the hope of making a profit. Now think of this, right? Option contracts, where do they come from? Option contracts, where do they come from? Well, they come from share laws. So what we do is this. We buy a parcel of shares with a very strict criteria in regards to a proprietary formula. Next, we do what? We sell the options to our shares. In other words, we are renting out our shares to the tenants, these option traders. Now, these option traders buy a contract with at least 2 or 3 weeks of time value, because every option contract will eventually do what? It will expire. Expire worthless, okay? Now, what's really important is this. These contracts, in order for the option trader to purchase an option contract, they have to physically outlay between 3 to 9%, historically speaking, between 3 to 9% of the value of the share lord's portfolios. In other words, you receive between 3 to 9% on each transaction that you do as a share lord upfront, day one, non-refundable. Okay, that's a really important distinction. So all we are doing now is this. As a share lord, we service the gamblers. In other words, these option traders. And there's millions of option traders in the world. And all we do is this, we service them. And let me tell you something right now. If you are not going to service these option traders, then some other share lord in this auditorium will. And all we're doing is this, simply creating a marketplace, and we are servicing what? Gamblers and this absolutely risky strategy over here. And think about this, with what option traders do, traders, if that is really risky over here, then it is what? Less risky on the other side over here, okay? So option traders, they pay us. As a share lord, we receive the actual money over here. Now, as a share lord, we're open with a profit on what? Each transaction. Once again, this is an entirely different way of investing in the stock market. This is cash. It's cash. And by the way, in Australia, did you know there are 7.4 million Australians? And the vast majority do what? Speculate and gamble on the stock market. Because all they've basically done is they've bought shares hoping and praying the share price will go up. Well, those days are very 1980s. And if you still subscribe to that, chances are you still probably think that Bob Hawke is the Prime Minister of Australia. Okay? Number 4 over here. We acquire our shares wholesale, not retail. Reason number 5 over here. We rent out our shares and we generate between 3 to 9%. Why? Because in order for the option trader to buy an option contract, they have to physically outlay between 3 to 9% of the value of your shares over here. Okay? Now have a look at this. Here's a stock. It's $18.97. Now, to be a share lord, you need a minimum of how many shares? You need 100 shares. And when I count that, you need 100 shares. So you've had 1,000 shares. How many contracts is that? Wonderful, awesome. So if you achieved a 6% return for the month, okay, well, that's $1.13 per share that you generate as a share lord, okay? Now, imagine this. So let's say your outlay was $1,897. And if you achieved $1.13 per share, well, that is now $113 that you've just generated off your outlay of $1,897. So let's say you now went out and bought 1,000 shares. 1,000 shares is how many contracts now? It's 10 contracts, okay? Have a look at this. So if you bought 1,000 shares at $18.97, that is $18,970. Meaning, if you're just generated $1.13 per share and you own 1,000 shares, that is now $1,130. Now think of this. In Brisbane, a $300,000 house, if you're still lucky enough to find it, will probably give you the same amount of rent per month. Who follows? And you've now been able to accomplish that with less than $20,000. Now think of the big possibilities over here, okay? Number 6 over here. We're not reliant on what? Direction. All we want to do is earn an income. Number 7 over here. We know exactly how much money we are going to generate upfront day one. And I'll tell you exactly how we do this. First of all, there are millions and there are millions of option traders in the world. Now, one thing is for certain. We do not look at the Australian market. There is not enough liquidity in the Australian market. We completely bypass Australia. Because Australia and New Zealand is less than 2% of the world's financial markets. We only look at the US market over here, okay? Next, we gauge all the option traders. We know exactly which option contracts they want to purchase. And what we also know is this. We also know when the option traders are overpaying for an option contract. Who thinks that's an important reason? And by the way, because the contracts that they are overpaying for are the ones that we tend to what? Create. So what we do is this, based on liquidity, based on the demand, we know exactly which option contracts they are purchasing, how much they're going to pay us, and we know exactly if they're going to overpay for these option contracts. And they're the contracts that we simply do what? We service the demand. So the option traders speculate and gamble, and we create the marketplace over here. Number 8. Would you buy a house without insurance? I mean, who drove here today? Show of hands. Okay, do you have an insurance policy on your automotive? Absolutely you do. Well, why is it there are 7.4 million Australians and the vast majority of them have no insurance policy, absolutely no form of capital protection for their share portfolio? It doesn't make sense. It is absolutely insanity. And for close to 40 years, you've been able to purchase a what? A capital protection policy in regards to protecting the value of your investment. Let me show you something over here. let's say we purchase some shares for $18.33 over here, okay? And let's say we purchased a $17.50 insurance policy. In other words, we are buying capital protection to protect the value of our investment over here. So what we're doing is this. If we buy a policy, for example, over here, and it's $17.50, we purchase the shares for $18.33. In other words, we are locking in the selling price of our shares at $17.50 in the event the share price does what? It goes down. And let's say that share price went down to $1 over here. Well, guess what? What we can do is this. We can sell our shares for how much? $17.50, okay? Now, have a look at this. Assuming we received $1.90 per share in regards to the premium, the rental paid cash up front. Let's say we received $1.90. Can we utilize a portion of the rental income to do what? To buy the insurance policy. Now, assuming the insurance policy was, let's say, 95 cents, okay? We're utilizing a portion of the rental income to buy the insurance policy. In effect, whose money are you really using to buy the insurance policy? None of your own. Now have a look at this. You're also protecting the value of your investment. Why? It's a nest egg, it's an investment, so you take it seriously. $1.90 we receive, the insurance policy is 95 cents per share. How much money do we have left net? About 95 cents. And we've purchased an insurance policy at $17.50. And figure this. For those who are landlords, is the insurance policy on your investment property tax deductible? Yes or yes? Why? It's a cost of doing what? Business. Well, we have clients that also claim this as a tax deduction. Why? Because if you're forced to buy a capital protection policy to protect the value of your investment, is that potentially a tax deduction? Who follows? And by the way, whose money did you use to buy the capital protection? And there are 7.4 million Australians, and the vast majority have absolutely no idea you can do that. That's how insanity, that's how crazy it is. And I've just shown you how to do it with none of your own money. So what we do is this, as a share lord, we buy a parcel of shares. How many shares do you need? How many shares make a contract? 100, wonderful. So you buy some shares with a very specific criteria and proprietary formula. Next, we sell the contracts to these shares to generate what? An income. Next, we do what? We buy a what? An insurance policy, utilizing a portion of the rental income the option traders paid us and what have you, okay? Let's continue over here. Number 9, between 30 to 60 minutes on a monthly basis. To transact a share lord transaction, about a minute once you've mastered it on one of these or on your computer. Next, we suggest the following. Simply monitor your position between 3 to 5 minutes per weekday. That's it. So between 30 to 60 minutes on a monthly basis. No more than 60 minutes. No more than 1 hour. Who knows why? Because anything more than 1 hour is a what? It's a job. Yes? Okay, by the way, 30 to 60 minutes on a monthly basis is between 3 to 5 minutes per day. The average coffee drinker in Australia will probably spend about 8 minutes drinking 1 cup of coffee. So if you don't have 3 to 5 minutes per day, I suggest you find it. I suggest you find it. Number 10, Sherlock works in harmony with property investing, and it's a phenomenal cash flow source to fuel the purchase of buying more properties and more properties and more properties. Now, have a look at this. Let me share with you a formula you can actually incorporate in your life. Now, let's say you did the following over here. And I'm probably going to need some paper too after this particular page. We have clients, we teach how to become a share lord, and they turn their cash into a parcel of shares and turn that parcel of shares into what? Cash flow. Okay? So what we're doing is this. We are buying a parcel of shares and we're generating an income versus the majority of Australians who have a share portfolio and keep their share portfolio vacant. By vacant, I'm referring to this. They do nothing but simply do what? Hope and wish. You know how crazy that is? Imagine all of you had 30 properties. You were property owners, but you weren't landlords because you never knew a strategy called being a landlord existed. That's how crazy that is. How much money have you left on the table? See, we don't keep our shares vacant. All we want to do is earn a monthly income with certainty. And by the way, when you have certainty, can you now budget your life? Is that important? You can budget your life, okay? Now, so we have clients that use cash. We have other clients that have an existing share portfolio over here. And we teach them how to turn that into cash. Next, we have clients that have the following over here. They have equity in a what? In a property over here. Now have a look at this. This is getting creative, yes or yes? Okay, can you turn a house into what? Equity. Who follows? A line of credit in Australia is how much? What is the interest rate per annum? Can I work with worst case scenario 8%? And by the way, in a deflationary economy, you will never see double digits in regards to interest rates. So it will remain about single digits. Everyone okay with that? Now, at 8%, so utilize a line of credit over here at 8% per what? Per annum over here, okay? Can you turn a line of credit into what? Access to cash. Can you utilize this cash to do what? To buy a specific parcel of shares, okay? Now, understand this. In the United States, there are 3,200 stocks, and there's about 300 on a daily basis that meet our criteria in regards to being a share lord over here. Now, every stock, as part of our recommendation diary and as part of our education, will pay between 3 to 9% in regards to what? The cash flow premium that you receive when you create the option contract. Now have a look at this. The 3 to 9%, is that per annum or is that per month? Per month. Now have a look at this. Per month. Now, how much is the cost of the money over here? 8% per what? Per annum. In the first 2 months over here, potentially, you can pay off the entire, you can pay off the entire interest bill for the entire year. Who follows? And have 10 months free use of the bank's money. Who follows? Now have a look at this. 3.9% over here. Now can you do this now? Can you go back over here and buy more what? Buy more property. Value factor, add more value to the property, increase the equity. More equity means more what? Access to more what? Cash, yes? More cash means more what? More shares. More shares means more what? Cash flow over here. And can you repeat this formula over and over again? By the way, what an amazing way to turn a negative gear property into what? Positive cash flow. What an amazing way to pay off your own mortgage, because your own house is a liability. It's not an asset. What an awesome way to pay off your credit cards, dismantle personal loan debt, car debt. And what an amazing way to keep on buying more properties, positive cash flow, and utilizing the line of credit, the equity, to do what? Buy a parcel of shares, and you're protecting the value of them whilst generating a monthly income as a buffer for the next 7 to 9 years in regards to what is about to transpire around the world or what have you. Let's continue over here. Have a look at this. Once again, the wealth matrix, and we want to stack up our strategies in the growth matrix in regards to those that meet our criteria, as opposed to financial cancer. And this is financial cancer in regards to having one single source of income and 100% reliance on that same single source of income over here, otherwise known as a job. That's a wonderful visual representation of a job. Have a look at that. Have a look at this. The poor guy on the left-hand side, he can't do his work. Has anybody heard Robert Kiyosaki? He wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which has now gone on to sell over 29 million copies. And let's say a royalties check of about $2.60 per copy. Not a bad return? Okay, well, I teach his clients specifically in regard to this particular strategy. Robert Kiyosaki is known around the world in regards to what? The premise and the topic of cash flow, okay? Have a look at this video over here.
Discover how to catapult your personal fortune using the most powerful cash flow strategy on the planet. Welcome to ShareLord, one of the most highly respected stock market educations in the world. ShareLord provides a unique opportunity to seriously accelerate your true financial destiny and blueprint. The ShareLord system of wealth generation allows a stock market investor to acquire shares at a wholesale rate, not retail. The ShareLord system gives you the right to create the market as opposed to trading it. With ShareLord, you can rent out your shares to generate a monthly cash flow rental of between 3% to 9% per month. With ShareLord, you can insure your shares using none of your own money, just like a landlord who rents out property to a tenant. A ShareLord can also rent out their shares to other stock market participants. To use an analogy, on the gold fields where gold was first being prospected, who really made the money? Was it the prospector who was speculating on the riverbed, hoping to strike it rich with the hope of making money, working hours and hours? Or was it the astute individual who sold the pans, picks, and shovels to all the prospectors? Obviously, the individuals selling the pans and shovels created the marketplace for prospectors to speculate, and they got paid every time. In the real world of investing, 95% of speculative investors will trade and gamble on the stock market, and the other 5% of educated investors will create the market. As share lords, we generate cash flow upfront to create a marketplace for speculators to trade. The Share Lord system requires no more than 60 minutes per month. It has the potential to be one of the safest, most lucrative cash flow strategies in paying off a home mortgage, dismantling credit card or personal loan debt. With ShareLord, it's as simple as point, click, and profit. ShareLord also works in harmony with property investing because it provides the cash flow fuel source to acquire more properties. The ShareLord stock market strategy incorporates all the features and benefits of a true dream business. No staff or customers, no age requirements, low risk, no physical labor, invest anywhere on the globe, minimal startup capital, and no complex, difficult to understand jargon. Welcome to the most powerful cash flow strategy on the planet.
Folks, specific strategies like ShareLord is the reason why Steve Forbes invited me to Europe with other 25 other leading investors around the world. And let me tell you, that boardroom, there was 25 of us in that boardroom. There was $15.4 billion of net worth in that room. Would you say that would have been quite a networking experience? Yes or yes? And believe me, in regards to being recession-proof and insulating yourself and creating your own personal economy, this is absolutely vital. And for somebody who travels around the world 8 months of the year, you know, I've got my finger on the pulse in regards to what is transpiring and what is developing in China. If you follow the Japanese model in regards to Japan, which basically had 15 years of growth and then bang, cataclysmic demise, then effectively China could soon follow the same steps as Japan. And for those who know something about 3D technology, anything that is made in China right now, in the next 10 years, made in China will no longer exist. And that's the reason why, for those who know about 3D technology, which is rapidly changing the technology of how things and how e-commerce is developed around the world and what have you. Okay, so let's continue over here. The wealth matrix over here, growth, momentum, lifestyle over here. So think of this, right? Let's say you had a line of credit. Let's say you had $25,000. Now, assuming a 5% return for the month. Remember, historically speaking, the returns are normally between 3 to 9%. Why? Because we don't use the Australian market, we utilize the US market because 85% of market participants utilize the US market. Now, have a look at this. $25,000 is a share lot investment at 5% a month. That's potentially $1,250 in rental cash flow, which in a way is the equivalent to owning one rental property valued at what? $250,000. Do your math. Let's say $50,000 as a share lot investment. That's potentially $2,500 per month for rent over here, the equivalent to owning 2 rental properties. Or let's say 100 at 4 rental properties over here. Let's say 200 over here, 8 rental properties. The equivalent, $10,000 over here at 5% a month. Now figure this, we have clients that do this in a self-managed super fund. We have our clients in the United States that do this in a 401k and what have you. Have a look at this. Look at the bigger picture. Think of the possibilities over here. So in other words, I love property. Look, I love property. Property is simply a capital growth vehicle, capital appreciation. Property is not my cash flow vehicle. This is cash flow. And all my other strategies in the growth matrix are cash flow orientated. So when you look at ShareLord and you compare it to property, have a look at this. With ShareLord, there is no rental vacancies. Why? Because all we do is this. We gauge liquidity. We gauge insatiable demand by all the option traders in the world. And we simply do what? We service that demand. We know exactly which option contracts they want to purchase, how much they're prepared to pay us, and on top of that, we know which option contracts they are overpaying for. And they're the ones that we create. By the way, who thinks this is beautiful all of a sudden right now? Absolutely, definitely. So what we're doing is we are stacking the odds in our favor at all times. So with ShareLord, no rental vacancies, high liquidity, and unlike property, no hydroponic experiments. As a ShareLord, as a landlord too, believe me, I've had every scenario as a landlord, okay? And Brisbane, you know what I'm talking about, hydroponics, yes? Once again, the wealth matrix. What's the criteria? You must know the return on investment, otherwise you're a gambler, you're a trader. You must know the risk profile up front, recession-proof, and you must be in control. So all the features and benefits of a true dream business, no staff or customers, you can be anywhere in the world, and by the way, recession and depression-proof, and something you must educate your kids. Who's got kids? Raise your hands. You teach them this. And I'll tell you why. And with all due respect to all the parents in the room, look, we were all spat out into the workforce by academia. Academia is simply an industrial revolutionized in regards to the educational system. It's not the teachers. Teachers are governed by the curriculum. And effectively, we've all been spat out into the workforce to service the system. No financial literacy, and along the way, we attempt to service our what? Our lifestyle. And then we take on way too much debt. Why? Because we get sucked into what? Boom time. We borrow and we borrow and we borrow. Too much debt, and now we're what? Somewhat sedated. We don't question. We simply accept things. And being on the wrong side of capitalism, what they do is this. They then do what? They turn the taps off. Meaning, there's no more credit. You can't get access to what? Cash. What do economies do? They contract. Contraction equals what? Unemployment. And if you have one single source of income and you lose that job, and you've got mortgages, and you're negative gearing, and you're reliant on the fund manager, and you're still prospecting and gambling and trading, you can see my point. As a parent, be accountable. Teach your kids this. Teach your kids. By the way, who does not have any kids? Raise your hands. Find one! Who's got way too many kids? Parent lords, see these individuals over here. Has anybody heard of a 401k? A 401k is a what? It's superannuation in regards to the US. In the US, I want you to think of this, right? In the US, of all the option-style strategies that one can incorporate in a 401k, the only strategy of all the options and all the strategies under the options banner is the share lord strategy. Fact. And there's a reason why. Who knows why? Low risk, a greater degree of what? Certainty. Who follows? That is validation. Success leaves clues at all times. And that's the same reason why Robert Kiyosaki has me teach his clients at his events worldwide. And the likes of Steve Forbes inviting me to provide some wisdom in regards to providing financial literacy to most Europeans. So 5 minutes per day to be a share lord, 5 minutes per day. It's about 30 to 60 minutes on a monthly basis. Now have a look at this. With the education, we will teach you everything you need to know how to become a share lord. We have a specific proprietary formula in regards to our criteria. Now, not only that, we also teach your kids, we teach your spouse and your partner, but have a look at this. This education here represents about 15 years of my life. Now, I didn't create the strategy, but I pioneered it, and I pumped it with steroids, and let me tell you, there is nothing like it on the planet. This is by far one of the fastest selling stock market education on the planet, and also for 21st Century Academy. Now, on top of the education over here, we also provide you a recommendation diary. Now, the diary works like this. Every day, we scan the market in real time, and we do the following. We email you. We send you an email, either on one of these, or your iPad, or your computer, whatever. Every stock, there's 3,200 stocks that meet, and of those 3,200 stocks, there's about 300 that meet our criteria, and there's always one that is an absolute pearler. And that is what we issue to our clients worldwide in over 31 countries. Every transaction pays between 3 to 9%. Each transaction takes no more than 1 minute to transact, and it's a few clicks of one button over here. Now, I'm going to show you about 9 months of our diary in the worst economic times in history. And I'm going to show you what we're averaging, our monthly average, and how you can get in on this, okay? Have a look at this. You can execute this on any of these devices, your computer or a phone or an iPad. Now have a look at this. December 28th over here. The return was 4.1% for that day. Basically, we have a recommendation. The stock pays 4.1%, and you can simply click a few buttons and bang. Up front, day one, that money is deposited into your account. Why? Because you just created a contract. To do what? To service the option traders over here. Have a look at this. January 31st over here. 4.1% over here. February 17th over here, 5.2% for that day over here. There is one recommendation every weekday. One recommendation every weekday, okay? And these contracts are what? They're monthly contracts. So So we are creating monthly contracts. So in Brisbane, can you please help me out? How many months in a year is there in Brisbane? So we are creating how many contracts? 12 contracts. 12 monthly contracts, okay? And here's the better thing. We can do multiple transactions in the same month. We have clients that do 3, 4, or 5, or 6 or 7 different transactions in the same month, okay? Have a look at this. March 5th over here, 5.4% over here. Now, on May 15th, we changed the look of our diary, and have a look at this. On this particular day, it was an 8.75% return on that transaction. Once again, we gauge the demand, we gauge the liquidity, and we simply do what? We meet the demand, okay? Have a look at this. This is just on the rental income, folks. Just on the rental income. 31st of May over here, there was 5.54%. With each transaction, what we do is this. We buy, we sell the options to the shares, and we simply do what? We also purchase an insurance policy, okay? At all times. Whose money are we using to purchase the insurance policy, folks? We're utilizing the option traders, okay? That's a really important distinction over here. Have a look at this. 8th of June over here, 5.59% over here. 15th of June over here, 6.56% over here. Over here, 21st of June over here, 4.90% over here, folks. 29th of June over here, 8.14% over here. You can do multiple transactions in the same month. Each weekday, each day, there is a recommendation. 11th of July, have a look at this, 12.39%, unusually high, high implied volatility. In other words, the option trader was overpaying for it. But think of this, right? If somebody is overpaying for an option contract, would you like to receive that money, yes or yes? Absolutely. Now think about over here. Now, 30th of July over here, 8.71%. Now have a look at this. We also have protection. Every recommendation carries a protection policy. So you can do what? You can insure against loss of value. Have a look at this where it says protection, insurance premium. What protection percentage does it say? It says what? 96.45%. So in other words, your position is protected by what? A percentage of 96.45. So what's your risk? Think about it. So you know your risk profile up front day one with each transaction over here. But just on the rent, there was 8.7% over here. Have a look at this one over here. Now have a look at the protection here. By the way, the return was 14.45%. What's the protection? What percentage, folks? 99.27% protection. So most of our insurance policies, most of the capital protection that we purchase is up to 99% protection over here. 31st of July over here, that's 4.39% over here. So each transaction as part of the recommendation diary is between 3 to 9%. That's part of the criteria. So it's got to be paying us between 3 to 9% on each transaction. And you can do multiple transactions in the same month over here. Have a look at this one over here. 10th of August, 6.52% return on your money over here. Have a look at this. 14th of August over here, 7.36% over here. 5th of September over here, 7.77% return on your money over here. Have a look at this. 7th of September over here, 15.38, an absolute crazy day, high implied volatility. But seriously, for 1 minute, once you master knowing how to do so on one of these, who will like a 15.38% potential return on your money? A show of hands. Now have a look at this. One thing no one has actually noticed, what does that say? That's a weekly option. So not only do we create monthly option contracts, we also create what? Weekly option contracts. And weekly option contracts only have a lifespan of about 4 days, really, because you don't count the weekends. Who follows? So have a look at this. So not only do we create monthly option contracts, we also create weekly option contracts. Have a look at this. Just a few days ago, 11th of September 2012, 7.48%. Now, I want you to look at this very, very carefully. Hedge fund performances around the world, okay, on average over here. In regards to the other Hennessy hedge fund over here. Average return for 2012 thus far is about 4.07% per annum, okay? Now, fund managers keep their jobs if they finish 1% over the market. Right now, as of September 5th, 2012, what we are averaging is about 4.69% on a monthly basis in regards to our recommendation diary. Folks, if that is not sexy, I have no idea what sexy really is. Think of this, because you know up front, day one, what you're generating. You know your risk profile. It's recession-proof because we're not chasing direction. All we want to do is generate an income over here. We aim higher, folks. Remember the criteria. It's got to meet the criteria. If it doesn't meet the criteria, chances are you are speculating, you are gambling or what have you. And on top of that, every month we release our diary, we release a report for our clients in regards to every transaction and our monthly average and what have you. And by the way, that was 4.69%. What if you annualize that? What do you get now? Yes, it is double digits, and it's significant double digits in relation to the recommendation diary, okay? As opposed to financial cancer. Now, on top of that, what we do is this. We can also double dip and make some additional cash flow. Why? Because when we create the option contract in the first place, we get to nominate the selling price of our shares. Because what we're doing is this. We are creating an option contract, and we're saying to the option trader, listen, hey, I'm going to give you the right, but not the obligation to buy our shares. If you want to, you can exercise your right to purchase our shares. You don't have to, but if you want to, we nominate the selling price of our shares. Hence, we have control. Now have a look at this, right? If we bought some shares, they were $15.25, and we rented them out at $17.50. In other words, we're giving the option traders the right to purchase our shares for what price? $17.50. And for that right, the option trader is going to pay us what? 85 cents. Normally between 3 to 9% of the value of our shares. So in other words, 85 cents as a percentage of the purchase price of $15.25, that's a 6% yield for that transaction. Now, two things can happen. The share price can stay at $15.25 at the end of the month. Or during the month, the share price can rise above $17.50, in which case the option trader will do what? They will exercise their right to purchase our shares for what price, folks? How much? $17.50. Which means this, if they want to exercise their right to buy our shares, wonderful. Guess what? Does that mean we've just made some additional money? Yes or yes? So think of this, right? We purchased the shares for $15.25, and we've now sold them to the option trader for $17.50. So on top of the existing premium of the 85 cents, we've now received an additional $2.25. Now, what was a 6% return day one has now ballooned into a what return for the month? 20% for the month return on your money. So in other words, if the share price rises, we get to double dip. Now have a look at this. So really, there's only 3 outcomes. Let's go through each outcome of being a share lord. If the share price goes up, are you now going to be exercised? Yes? That's called a double dip. So do you make additional cash flow? Yes? Wonderful. And what do you do now? You just buy another round of shares. To do what? To repeat the whole thing all over again. Now, if the share price goes absolutely sideways over here, the option contract will expire worthless. What do you do now? The contract's expired. Can you re-rent out those shares again? Who follows? Yes? Have a look at this. But what if it drops? We still receive cash flow irrespective of the outcome, of the direction. But did we purchase a what in the first place? What did we purchase? We purchased a what? A policy. And what do? We make a claim on our policy. And we do what? We sell our shares for the agreed selling price that we basically set. Okay? That's the 3 only outcomes. We take risk management very seriously because we know our risk profile up front day one. Now have a look at this. All our policies that we purchase, up to 99% protection. And I've shown you on every recommendation, we have the best protection that you can purchase. So we look at the market and we look at the best value, dollar for value, insurance policies, what have you. And we purchase with none of our own money. This is called seatbelt investing, folks. Just like you wore a seatbelt when you drove your car here today. You need a seatbelt in relation to your investing. This is what we call seatbelt investing. Why? Because stocks have accidents too. And the scary thing is there are 7.4 million Australians, the majority exposed, and they have none of this seatbelt investing in place. And that's why superannuation is down. And usually those with the self-managed super funds are the ones who are in positive territory. So you need to understand how to purchase your insurance policy, and better still, how to utilize none of your own money, but generating an income on a monthly basis on your portfolio from anywhere in the world. So who has $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in the bank right now doing absolutely nothing? A show of hands, please, folks. Would you like to know how to generate between 3 to 9% potentially over here? Now, I want you to think of the bigger picture over here. Let's say you would incorporate something called compounding. This will blow your mind. Now, check this out very, very carefully. Let's say you had $10,000. You started with $10,000 and you were generating a 5% return on a monthly basis. The average is between 3 to 9% on a monthly basis. So if you were maintaining a 5% return, right now we're at 4.69% in the chaos of the financial markets, which is a damn good figure, let me tell you right now. So if you were generating 5% a month, compounded, in other words, you started with $10,000 at 5% each month and you reinvested that money. Let me tell you what that would be worth in 10 years. Now have a look at this. If you started with $10,000, 5% compounded at a 5% return each month, that is turning $10,000 into $3.4 million. By the way, this math, this arithmetic, is that a matter of fact or is that a matter of opinion? That's fact. At 5% per month. So here's an idea for you. What if you had two accounts? One account that you do what? That you physically live off in regards to making money, bang, servicing your life with that. Secondly, have another account that you simply do what? Compound. Who likes that? Folks, compounded over 10 years. Something to think about over here. 3.8 in 10 years potentially over here. Just from compounding. So just think of the possibilities over here. So replacing your JRB, paying off credit cards, car loans, personal loans, and so on over here. Have a listen to this, folks.
Hi, my name's John Bellinger, and thanks to the ShareLord system, my wife and I have made 50% on our money in the last 12 months.
Hi, I'm Jo. I've been paper trading ShareLord for a few months now, and I'm really excited about starting live trading.
I'm Kevin Cater, and when I first learned of ShareLord, I was actually graduating college.
Hi, my name is David Clarkson, and this is my 7-year young son, Jaden Clarkson. Together we are doing ShareLord.
Hi, I'm Frances. I'm a nurse. I work full-time night duty and I've been doing ShareLord for about 2 years now.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I've been doing ShareLord for about 8 months now. I paper traded for 2 months and then I've been live for probably about 6.
My name is Olive Wallace. I am 81 years of age. I've been with ShareLord about 4 years. I've found them to be absolutely fantastic.
Hi, I'm Leo Organs from Israel. I'm 25 years old and I'm very excited to share with you my experience with ShareLord.
Hi, my name's Pam Dean. I've been a ShareLord student now for a number of years, for about 3 years.
Hi, I'm Kobe. I've been doing the ShareLord program for about a year now.
The ShareLord training was simple. I've been in the real estate market for the last 14 years and I was looking for something to kind of replace my income, kind of help me out a little bit.
Up until this point, I was surviving off of student loans as well as support of my family. And luckily I came across ShareLord.
Such a simple strategy, so easy to use.
So pretty much I'd been working, paycheck to paycheck, just barely scraping by, trying to pay the bills. And I was looking for something to supplement my income.
I make about $3,000 a month.
I made returns of 33% of my money.
We get between 3 and 9% per month. And now Jaden, who is 7, is teaching his 5-year-old little brother Bryce how to do the share renting.
I make about 4 to 8% a month.
I'm getting 3 to 5% on most of my trades. Sometimes I come up with an awesome trade and get around 7 to 8%, but generally 5% is pretty easy to get, no problem.
The upfront returns on a monthly basis is what ShareLord really is all about. And by this I mean once you place your trade, you receive that premium into your bank account right then and there.
If you put your money in the bank, your interest rate is on a yearly average. With ShareLord, it's on a daily or monthly average you make, and it's far more than you make in any bank account.
The system itself is very simple.
Before ShareLord, it was really hard.
Okay, folks, you get my point over here. Now, I want to show you something over here. On a serious note, just a show of hands, who could actually utilize this particular strategy in their lives right now as we speak? Folks, I really want you to think about this. This is cash flow. I love property, but property is a capital growth vehicle. And let me tell you about property. As much as I love property, if you have bought a brand new property in the last couple of years, chances are you're not going to see capital growth for some time. The days of the rule of 72 and capital growth, we just simply hope and wish and it's going to go up in value, those days are long gone for the next decade because we have deflation now. The only way to make money in property is like in regards to the land banking, but also adding value to existing property to raise the what? The equity, what have you. But you need to know about cash flow, recession-proof the cash flow, knowing the return on investment up front, day one over here. Have a look at this. He's a young child, he's about 9 years of age right now. His father taught him. Why? Because with all our clients, we teach your kids. Who's got kids? Once again, who am I talking to? We teach your kids this particular strategy, right? Teach your kids. This particular child over here, look at this. $980 USD for 13 days, better than pocket money. I made more than dad last month. What do you tell a child when he's about to generate at least $1,000 a month? Let me tell you right now, if he's generating $1,000 a month, leave school. When you start making money, hold on, no, listen to this. When you start generating more money than a school principal, then why would you be at school? Who sees my point? Education, what is it? Learn how to speak, read and write in your chosen language and then go out there and do what? Seek specialized knowledge. That's an education. That's an education. How about bypassing the academic system and teaching your kids around the world whilst generating an income? That's a really important distinction over here. And the little kid's now teaching his younger brother over here on the right-hand side. Have a look at this. These are testimonies over here, getting 4 to 5% up front, cash. Thanks to a great product, Sheila rocks all right. He's an accountant. Things are going okay at the moment. I've started with a portfolio of some $44,000 US, and now it has turned into $69,000 US, 57% annualized, it's about 85% or what have you. Have a look at this. The education material is very well presented. There's no hype. It's just fact. No hype, just fact. As you know, I am planning to retire just after 12 months with ShareLord. How are these returns in the same month? Multiple transactions in the same month. Every transaction on a diary is between 3 to 9% on each transaction. Return on investment. Have a look at this. In the same month, 5.2, 4.2, 6.1. How about this? 5.9, 7.8, 10.6, 8.4. You know, I've told you before that you're the best of the best. The Mother Teresa in the financial world. Thank you very much. Clients have used as little as $2,000. Other clients have used upwards of $1 million. And look, in light of your own financial circumstances, it's what you feel comfortable with. But if you're going to do something, you do it. You don't postpone, you don't procrastinate, because the longer you procrastinate, it becomes a one day or a what if, and you fertilize more fear and you never get around to it. And let me tell you right now, for all the parents in the room, the current generation of kids are going to be part of the ninja generation. No income, no job, no assets. Because the academic system is obsolete. Kids will be spat into the workforce like we were all brainwashed with one single source of income and then hoping for an outcome in life. And then with after-tax dollars, struggling. We take on way too much debt. We're basically sucked in by capitalism and we lose our faculty of thinking and we're effectively comatose. And effectively what happens is we die at 21 and we get buried at 75 years of age. Working one job for 1 year and repeat it 40 times over. Where's the logic? That's absolute insanity over here. If you honestly believe you can make an absolute difference in your life and you have a belief system in regards to self-esteem and wanting to extract as much out of your life, and if you are a parent, you do whatever it takes and you teach that child. By the way, any grandparents in the room? If your kids are doing the worst job in the world, inspiring your grandchildren, well, guess what? You teach them. Can I please have Gavin, Kelly? I want you to listen from individuals, in real life over here in regards to the difference that ShareLord has made in their lives. Microphone's up here. Guys, you have the floor.
Yeah, hi everyone. Gavin May's my name. I'm from Perth, here with my lovely wife, Kelly, most important member of our team, by the way. We've been ShareLord students for about 3 years now, And prior to that, we spent probably 4 years doing some of the more speculative type strategies on the market. So I did 4 different programs over those 4 years and had some fantastic months where I made lots of money and have a really bad month where I donated all back to the market again. So we're still looking for that holy grail of investing, and we came across ShareLord about 3 years ago. So that's stock market education program number 5 that we did. And straight away, first month 5%. In fact, our first year in 2010, we averaged 5% per month. So we thought, yep, this really works and works well. So we looked at ways to load up our account, and we used the power of compounding. So for 18 months, we didn't draw any money out of our account. We just let it grow. And after 18 months, my account was at a big enough size where I had a choice whether I could work or not. So I was in mining for 20 years in Western Australia and had a manager's role, so a very large salary. So in June of last year, I actually gave up work, and I've now been very happily unemployed for the last 14 months because of the income I'm generating on the stock market. So look, right now we teach family and friends and teach our teenage boys how to do this. And so if you've got any questions on how it works and how I do my investing, more than happy to share that with you. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Kelly, and I just wanted to add a little bit to what Gav said. The main thing that I found is when Gav was trading other style strategies, he was spending a lot of time. First he was FIFO, fly out with his mining job, and then he'd come home and he'd sit in front of the computer, spend a lot of time on the computer watching the markets go up and down, trends, etc. It drove me crazy. So the main thing with ShareLord is the low time intensity, and yeah, that's really good for work-life balance. Not that we do a lot of work these days, but yeah, so I just wanted to put, for all the wives out there, you will see your husband when you do this strategy. Okay, thanks.
Hi, my name's Anita. I started out as a ShareLord student about 3 years ago. I had no prior knowledge or investment experience whatsoever with the stock market, so this was very, very new to me. For the first year or so, I just focused on following the recommendations because obviously didn't know what I was doing, and I just come out of a fair bit of debt, so I only started with about $3,000. The last year and a half, I've now been trading independently, so I'm actually taking all of my own trades, and out of that time, that year and a half, every month has been a profitable month by one, which is fantastic. And probably the best thing about this strategy is definitely the time factor. So I only spend about 30 minutes a month trading this particular strategy. Yep.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Okay, folks. So I want to show you exactly what the education encompasses. Now, this here represents 15 years of my life in regards to research. And folks, let me tell you, I came from the speculative side of the marketplace. I was one of those traders who used to draw charts and then computers in nighttime, whatever, ridiculous hours. Once you understand the power of this, it is far greener on the other side. And believe me, once you do this, you will never ever look at the trading side, because those who trade, speculate and gamble, it's the hope, it's the wish mentality. You don't want to hope. You never want to wish. You want to be in control of your outcome. That's really important. Now, it includes all the workbooks, the education, the manuals, the DVDs, but also we give you an iPod with all the audios, okay? The videos, the DVDs represents about 8 hours of viewing time, okay? Now, on top of this, the online platform, each person will get access to the online platform with a username and password. The videos on the online platform, we update them. So every time there's a new video, we will upload it. Now this is lifetime access to the online platform. There are no charges to this. Lifetime access to the online platform. Now, in relation to the wealth matrix, do you recall how I mentioned there's about 7 different strategies that I incorporate? Who would like to be in on those 7 different strategies? Yes or yes? When you basically become a ShareLord client, it's not just ShareLord. I will teach you wisdom in regards to wealth and personal development. So you become a student, you become a family member for life. And I love to impart this knowledge, and I want to emotionally and I want to financially inspire you, your family, and your kids. That's a really important distinction. This is a lifetime education, okay? So all the videos, all the study aids and what have you. Now, the diary, we send that out every day. Every day. Every transaction is between 3 to 9% over here. In fact, have a look at this. It comes out like this. We tell you, hey, here's a 6.52% return investment over here. Click on this. You click on that, 3 clicks, and bang, you can transact up front, day one, paid into your bank account. Done. Move on the next day. This diary over here is pretty amazing. Why? Because we have a traffic light system over here. Does everybody see the colours on the left-hand side? Look at these colours over here, folks. Effectively, every transaction that you enter, we will monitor it on your behalf and we will contact you. We'll keep you in close contact. Anything that is green is what? It's going to be a double dip. In other words, it's going to be exercised. Is that a good thing? Yes or yes? If it's green, you're making what? Additional money on top of the rent. If it's amber, we're saying, hey, something could actually happen in this particular stock right now. Red means you may need to exercise your what? Your insurance policy. Who loves that? Every transaction is monitored. Every one. Pretty amazing. And you get that every weekday, this recommendation diary over here. Next, the mentoring over here. Who would personally love to be mentored by me? A show of hands. Folks, with this education, not only do you have access to me, but you also have access to my mentors that have all been personally trained by me. And our mentoring structure is profound. Allow me to explain. For every 24 hours, we have a mentor on hand, 20 hours of each weekday. First of all, round of applause for that. It's pretty amazing, right? Our mentors will hold your hand, walk you through the entire process, and what they do is they're going to ring out, they're going to call you and say, hey, how you doing? Wonderful, let's get started. Let's make sure you understand things. Let's make sure you get started, you don't procrastinate, and let's make sure that you start to make money. Okay, our mentors are amazing, and let me tell you, without a mentor, your very best thinking has got you exactly where you are today because we are the result of every decision that we've made in our lives. Use the mentors. The mentors are amazing at this, folks. Believe me. Now, what I'm going to include is this. Anybody coming on board right now, as I'm about to wrap this up, I will include the following bonuses. These bonuses are not available anywhere. They're not available online. They're not available if you ring our company. It's only available here for the Financial Educational Summit with 21st Century. These are the bonuses. Take note of these, folks. These are amazing bonuses. Okay. Not only do we teach you how to become a share lord on the monthly contracts, we teach you on the weekly contracts. And the weeklies are amazing. They absolutely rock. Have a look at this. They're amazing, sometimes double the premiums and no additional risk. Would you like some of these returns? Have a look at this. 5.3 for the week, or even on the low scale, 2%. Who will love a 2% a week return on their money? Folks, where's the love? They say enthusiasm is contagious. On the low scale, 2% over here. I'm also going to give you this. It's an investment psychology home study over here. We normally retail that for about $1,100. I will include that complimentary today when you come on board as a bonus over here. Number 3, we're going to have a boot camp. Every person come to your boot camp, okay? And by the way, bring your kids. Who's got kids? Raise your hands. Bring your kids. And who has a spouse or partner that is not in the room right now? Well, guess what? We will educate your spouse and your partner because your spouse and partner will also get username and password access to the online platform because we also train them. In fact, your partner, your spouse, will have access to our mentors. So when you think about it, look, this is an education for the family. It's not just for you. It's for the entire family. You teach your kids this. You've got to teach your kids this. So your spouse and partner, free, lifetime access over here. Webinars, lifetime access over here. And on top of that, in relation to brokerage, we have the most discounted brokerage rates on the planet for share law clients. And you will have this. Okay, so you take action right now.